A topic that many people seem to get caught up in is the notion of free will. Now, in many spiritual teachings, you will hear the statement that there is no free will, that it's all happening on its own, and that there is no true choice, there is no separate will in this. That sounds like quite the dramatic statement, but as always, to see whether this is true or not, the most important thing to look at is direct experience. Right here, right now, how can we make sense of the notion of free will? We could notice, first of all, that on a conventional level, what free will is seems to be quite clear. Right now, there is the freedom for this body to move all kinds of ways. I'm not being restricted. If there is the choice to lift this right arm, it can be done. But likewise, if there is the choice to lift the left arm, that too can be done. So on this conventional level, it seems quite clear that there is a free will, a freedom of choice to perform whatever action is there to be done. And of course, this distinction is quite important. It matters a lot in our conventional life. After all, it is quite different if I walk up to a person and strike them for no reason, or if somebody forcibly lifts my arm and moves my hand to strike a person. Because in that case, quite clearly, I haven't performed that action through my own freedom, through my own autonomy. So, why then is the claim made that there is fundamentally no free will? Well, if we look a bit more closely at what it means to have free will, things start to get very strange. As I said earlier, there seems to be the choice to decide between raising my right arm or my left arm. But if I actually try to be aware of the intention to lift my right or left arm, and I try to notice where it's arising from, things all of a sudden become very slippery. This intention seems to arise, but what is it arising out of? Who is the one who is having that intention, and who is then subsequently deciding to lift an arm? The one who makes that choice simply cannot be found. So if we're asking the question of whether there is free will, we need to ask, free will for who? If no one can be found who has free will, then how does that notion even make sense? If there is no one to have the free will, what good is the concept of free will? It simply collapses. So it turns out that on closer inspection we cannot make sense of the idea of free will. But here's the fascinating thing. If we are looking that closely, if we are becoming that subtle about our experience, it's not just that free will disappears. The person seems to disappear. Because right now I seem to have this concrete idea of myself as a person. But if I look for any of these components which seem to make up the whole, again, things start to become very slippery and strange. I cannot find the thing I'm looking for. My personhood as something concrete simply can't be established. So on this ultimate level, there is no free will, but there's also no world. There's also no person. And this is why this topic gets very confusing for many people. Very often, people speak on the conventional level where there is a person and there is a world, and they then say that there is no free will. But in this sense, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're invoking the emptiness of free will, the unfindability of free will, then at the same time we also have to invoke the emptiness of the person in of itself and the world in of itself. We have to point out that none of that can be found in this concrete, definable way. It's all empty, ultimately. And yet that doesn't stop us from participating in the world as a person on a conventional level. Because emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. Nothing can be found, and yet everything is simply present. It is a paradox, but that's precisely the thing. We don't need to resolve it. We simply embrace that paradox, that ultimately there is no free will, and yet conventionally speaking, there is the freedom to choose. So whenever we feel that we are in a great tension and we want to have a clear-cut answer to whether there is or isn't free will, we can simply relax, because the mind's idea of this binary existence of either free will or no free will simply can't be substantiated. And yet it's also obvious. So simply relax and enjoy the freedom on the relative, while seeing that ultimately we are free of all of these concepts.